back to a new video. Today is gonna have a lot of technical terms for reproductive organs because I'm dealing with a goat with a prolapse, so if you don't want your kids to learn those kinds of words, skip this part that's about goats. So with that out of the way, I am dealing today with a goat that has a vaginal prolapse. Goats can have one of 3 different kinds of prolapses. I think sometimes they can have 2 out of 3, but today we're dealing with a vaginal prolapse. The other 2 types that they can have are a uterine prolapse and a rectal prolapse. A uterine prolapse typically only happens after they've had kids, and a rectal prolapse is their butt, and then a vaginal prolapse is basically where the canal starts to come out the vulva. So this happened a few days ago already, and I called the vet. I got advice from the vet. He said that if I could clean it and pop it back in, then it's not a huge issue. So I'm gonna just keep trying to do that, and if she repeatedly prolapses, then I do have a contraption that I can use to help her keep everything in place. And vaginal prolapses can happen for a couple of different reasons. I think for her it's happening because of a couple of different things combined. So it can happen if you've got a really short-bodied doe and the kids, when she's pregnant, just take up a lot of space and kind of push on that canal. And it can happen if they're weak in the rear end, and it can also happen if they are just not exercising enough. So with Bella, she's the black goat with moon spots. She kind of got sore on her feet a couple months ago, so we'd already resolved to not breed her again. So she lays down a lot, so she doesn't get a whole lot of exercise, and she is actually a short-bodied doe as far as goats go. And so we think that it might have been just a combination of all of those factors, of her laying down a lot and losing the strength in her back end, and her being a short-bodied doe. So apparently this can also be hereditary, so she will not be bred again if she comes through this, but I'm gonna try and show you guys as best as I can what I'm doing and just try to work with what I got here. So this bit here is her vulva, and I don't see the prolapse right now, but I know that she did get shavings on it. So I'm gonna be trying to wash that out as best as I can and making sure that it's actually stuck in there where it should be. And you can see that she's kind of dancing on her feet because they're sore. And she's not really got the greatest legs either, which I think is a contributing factor. And she's pawing too, so it's not the greatest situation. But the vet also said that if she can still urinate, then it's not as bad as it could be. So she's not as bad as she could be. Hey, Bella? So right here I have a very diluted water and iodine mixture, and there's a couple of cloths in there that I'm going to use to clean her up. So it did end up going back in on its own, which is really good, but I do still have to clean it and make sure that she's not bringing in any like foreign pieces of matter, just because that's not going to be great later on, or even now, because she can get an infection that way. Good girl. Basically, when I do see a prolapse, there is going to be a little pink bubble coming out here, kind of like how you would see after birth or during birthing. So she's done a good job of sucking it back in herself, so I don't have to do too much. But I will show you what I will be using if she does continue to prolapse. So what I've got to help with this problem is this thing. And this is called a U-spoon or a prolapse spoon. So basically what you do is you insert this just inside the vulva so that it keeps the vaginal canal from falling out. So this obviously won't sit in there by itself, so I'll have to fashion some sort of a harness in order to keep this thing in place if she does continue to prolapse. So that's kind of what we're dealing with right now. It's not an emergency as of yet, but yeah, it's something that I'm just gonna have to deal with and monitor until she has kids. Typically, a vaginal prolapse will go away after a doe has kids. The really big problem is when they have a uterine prolapse and the uterine falls out of the goat. This lady, there we go, look at that. She is huge. That's what her udder looks like right now. So people might think I'm weird for feeling udders to check for due dates, but you see it with cows, you see it with goats, you see it with pretty much any mammal. There'll be a really significant pop or bloom of the udder when they're really close to kidding, so it's a really good idea to check on that. But since everything looks okay here now, it's time for me to go milk cows. So I'm just waiting on a couple of cows to milk out. So I'm just gonna give you guys a rundown of a bunch of different things that happened this past week, because a couple of things went wrong. So obviously Bella the goat had a prolapse. We also had our bed buster break. So basically the rototiller that mixes up the sand beds and makes them nice and soft broke down. We also had a pretty major pipe bust in the water room with the two big tanks, and it soaked our copper sulfate pallet, so a bunch of those bags were just completely soaked through. They're still usable, but kind of a pain in the butt now to move them around because the bags are kind of fragile now. And during that milking, because that pipeline busted, we had to turn off all of the water, so that was not a fun milking. There was a lot of manure and there was no way to clean it, so it was pretty gross. I really enjoy having a clean milking parlor to work in, and that was not possible without water. The flushing system for the milk cloths also runs on water, and it doesn't work when there's no water, so we had to manually dip every cow so that they would still get their teat dip, because that's really important for them when their teat orifices are open after milking. It's really important to disinfect them and have them have that layer of disinfectant so that there is less chance for bacteria to get into the teat orifice and create mastitis. So overall, it's been a pretty interesting week. Everything always comes at once. So milking is done, and I came in to check this lady, and her prolapse was showing again. So I'm gonna see what she looks like tomorrow. If she's prolapsed again, then I will be making a harness out of some rope or something and putting in the prolapse spoon, and then hopefully we're able to get her through to full term for pregnancy and then have the kids and also save her. I don't want to jinx it, but I'm hoping we can save both. We're definitely gonna have to bottle raise these babies, so they're gonna be super tame. But yeah, we're just gonna take it day by day and see how it goes. She doesn't look to be in any major pain, so that's the most important thing, is keeping her comfortable, and she seems to be relatively comfortable at this time, so that's about all we can do right now. But I think that's gonna be it for today's video again, guys. So if you, I don't want to say enjoyed it, because it's kind of like all the things that happened that didn't go right on the farm video, but yeah, if you enjoyed seeing how sometimes things don't go the way they are planned, then please like and subscribe and share it with a friend. I will see you guys in the next video. Bye. And side note, Jan says that Rhea looks like a toad, so if you made it to the end of the video, comment whether or not you think Rhea looks like a toad.